Welcome to the World of Book Reviews. This segment is about children's books, but it's actually not children like little kids tonight. Tonight it's like your children who may be teenagers or young adults. And it's a fabulous book that I read. It's entitled Beyond Texting, The Fine Art of Face-to-Face Communication for Teenagers. And let me tell you why I like this book so much. Because according to research done in 2010, there was a study by Pew Research Center that said text messaging has become the primary way that teens communicate. Half of all teens send 50 or more text messages a day. Think about that. Half of all teens send 50 or more text messages a day, or that's 1,500 text messages a month. 1 in 3 teenagers send more than 100 texts a day, or that's more than 3,000 texts a month. That's a lot of texting, isn't it? And then a study from Nielsen found that individuals talked on cell phones an average of 188 minutes a month in 2010. But now that's down about 25% due to the increase in text messaging. So that's why I wanted to bring this book to your attention, because it's a book about the fine art of face-to-face communication. And it's for your young people, it's for your teenagers, it's for your young adults. And it starts out with talking about the benefits of learning what the book offers. Now, what I mean by that, it tells the person that if they communicate better face-to-face and one-on-one, there are a lot of benefits to them in life. And right up in the very beginning, there's a great questionnaire for the young people to use to find out things that they need to know about people that they date and people that they spend time with. And it's a fabulous questionnaire. As I read this book, I thought, you know what? I know people who are adults, not just teenagers, but adults, mature adults, supposedly, that could use this book. There were so many things in here that made such a big difference. There was a chapter on how to be a good conversationalist. And you know what? If you're texting all the time, you're not learning to be a good conversationalist. You're not learning how to have rapport with other people. There's also a chapter in here on how to approach others and break the ice. And I know a lot of adult people who don't even know how to do that. How to go up to people they don't know. You know, it is said that the number one fear that people have in life is the fear of public speaking. But the number 2 fear is the fear of attending like networking events or places where you have to meet someone that you don't know, or especially if you don't know anybody in the room. And so how to approach others and break the ice, that's a great chapter, and that's one that the kids could really use, and one that many of us could use as well. And then they give examples of how to keep conversation going. And if you've ever been in a situation like I have, where you're talking to someone and you don't know what to say, you really could use that portion about how to keep a conversation going. I remember one night years ago when I lived in South Africa. I was new to South Africa, and I wasn't adjusted to people's accents. I couldn't really hear them that well. I couldn't figure out what they said. And I was at a dinner party, and I was sitting next to this lady, and she looked over at me, and she said, "I'm a kangaroo." And I didn't know what to say to that. I just said, "How nice." And a little later, she said it again, "I'm a kangaroo." And I said, "How nice." And this went on all evening. And when I left, my friend Vimy and I were walking down the street, and he said to me, "What on earth was wrong with you tonight? All you did was say, 'How nice, how nice, how nice.'" And I said, "Well, I didn't know what to say to someone who thought they were a kangaroo." I said my mind was doing kind of weird stuff, because I thought, you know, I could ask her, like, "What do you have in your pouch?" or "How far can you hop?" Or I didn't know kangaroos lived in Africa. I thought they lived in Australia. I said, so I didn't quite know what to do with it. Now, see, if I had known how to learn these simple ways of having conversation and keeping it going and having a quality conversation, maybe I wouldn't have looked like such a fool going, "How nice, how nice, how nice." And as we were walking, Vimy said, "Well, what did you think she said?" I said, "Well, she thought she was a kangaroo. She said, I'm a kangaroo." And he said she did not. She said, "I came from the karoo." He said, she lives in the desert, you live in the desert. She was trying to create rapport. So, you see, even if I had asked one of those stupid questions, if I had said, what do you have in your pouch? Well, at least the woman would have known that I didn't understand her, rather than me just sitting there going, how nice, how nice, how nice. Also in this book, how to kill a conversation. What are things you can do that absolutely kill a conversation? And I know that you've been around people who have killed conversations. You've been having conversations with them and they say amazing things, like they turn the conversation into a competitive sport. It's like you say one thing, they say something about themselves that's bigger and better. Or what about people who interrupt, constantly interrupting? Or the ones that hog the spotlight. You know, they get started and they never give you a chance to answer. I know on my podcast I had a guest like that one day. I had a lady on and I asked her the first question, and the podcast is an hour, and she talked nonstop. She never breathed in between. I never even got a chance to ask the second question. And at the end, when I was going to sign off, I tried to interrupt her to sign off, and she just kept talking, and before long she was off the air and she was still talking. And so, you know, we need to learn to be aware of how much we talk and of the conversations we're having with other people. And this book really points a lot of that out. It gives advice about how to talk to someone without being asked certain questions, about gossiping, about sticking your foot in your mouth and how to get out of it. It gives you tactful ways to end a conversation. And I mean, how many times have we ever had a problem with thinking about how do we end a conversation? How do we walk away from people without being rude? It talks about body language and what your body language says to people. And, you know, we could do programs on body language. There's all kinds of books out there. But for teenagers, this is a great book. And one of the things I think is best for them is how to connect with authority figures, because so many young people don't know how to win the respect of people who are in authority or in higher positions. So this is a book I highly recommend that you get for your teenager. It's Beyond Texting: The Fine Art of Face-to-Face Conversation for Teenagers by Deborah Fine. And Deborah is the lady who wrote The Fine Art of Small Talk, which was a bestseller not too long ago. So get this book for your teenagers, for your young adults, and get it for yourself, because I'm telling you, when I read it and I talked to a lot of people, I learned a lot of things from this book.